My name is Anthony D. Lombardo, and the D is for Dominic. I was born in Pawcatuck, Connecticut, a small village in the town of Stonington. I volunteered for the draft, and I ended up in the U.S. Army from 1954 to 1956. And then I spent 6 years in the Ready Reserve at home on the beach. And once I thought when we were invading Lebanon, Eisenhower was going to send troops. I thought I was going to be one of the troops. But it didn't happen.
What did your parents, siblings, friends think about you volunteering for the Army?
Well, I really was away from home for 2 years because I went to college and I had 2 years of college under my belt, but I ran out of money and I decided to volunteer for the draft and get the draft over with, because at that time the Korean War was still officially going on. And I think it's still going on today because we still have troops there and a buffer zone between South and North Korea.
Do you remember, or can you share a little bit about your first assignment after basic training?
Basic training was at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And from there, they sent me to Aberdeen, Maryland. And there was a joke about the green grass at Maryland, but I won't say it. Anyway, a lot of the other members of basic training that I had at Fort Dix, some of them went other places, and some of them I never saw again, and some of them I did see down in Aberdeen, along with some new soldiers that joined me down there.
What was the hardest part of the military lifestyle to adapt to?
Well, the toughest part was being away from home. And I think every soldier that, grew up with a loving family like I did, you miss your family. And that was the toughest part. But being that I volunteered for the draft, I kind of said to myself, hey, you did what you wanted to do, and you expected exactly this, because in my family, we are 2 generations of military. My father was in World War I, and he was wounded and left on the battlefield for dead. And my brother was in World War II, and was in Patton's Third Army. And then I came along. I was the last one of the Mohegans, so to speak, and I was in the service.
How were you received by your family and community upon your return?
Upon my return, it was a little bit difficult, because near the end of my tour of duty, my father was very sick and died. And that was not a very good homecoming for me. Also, while I was in the service, I did experience a couple of things which might be of help to somebody. And maybe I was going out with a couple of gals, and I got 2 Dear Johns, which I had never heard of before. And when I kind of shared it with my brothers and aunts, they said, you got a Dear John. Well, I said, my name is Tony or Anthony, not John. That's my brother John. Anyway, kind of funny.
How did service impact you?
Well, it taught me a lot about people. It taught me how to do teamwork with your brother soldiers. We had to work together. We did everything together. And I was kind of a loner at home because there was 7 years between my last sibling, and I was the baby of the family, so I kind of did everything myself. And when I went into the service, it was just the opposite. I had to do everything with everybody in my platoon and my company.
Can you share a little bit about some of the veteran organizations that you're part of?
Yes, that's very easy. When I got out, I decided to join the VFW, which I did. And this hat is representing the VFW 1265 in Pawcatuck, Connecticut. And also I joined the DAV, which is the Disabled American Veterans. And the chapter is in Westerly, Rhode Island, our neighbor, chapter 6. And I ended up being a chaplain.
What do you wish more people knew about veterans?
Well, it's hard to explain to people who haven't been in the service, but let me give you an idea of what I've heard and seen over the years, because it's been 68 years since I was in the service. I've run across a lot of men who have kind of, leveled with me on the fact that they didn't go into the service for one reason or another. And it was it's kind of left from what they told me, it kind of left a vacuum in their life, whatever that means.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view or hear this interview?
Speaking from my experience, I'm lucky that I am living in a great country, a great republic, founded on the religious principles of the Judeo-Christian religion. And I think those factors make the country great. And I think that if you have to defend it, think about it and then do it, because it's worth defending. I know, I've been there and I've seen what it has done for the world, and I've seen what it has done for me.
Anything else that you would like to add that we have not covered?
Well, I would like to say I do have some stories, but I can't tell them all. But I have one story that you can imagine. I was in the service with a guy from Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Aberdeen, Maryland, and that was 65 years ago, and we are still in touch with each other. His name was Dominic Savarese, and he was a great guy. That's about it.
Last question. Do you want to just share briefly your thoughts on the Veterans Monument itself and where you came up with the idea?
Well, I came up with that. I didn't really come up with the idea for the monument. It was kind of pushed in my face because I was preparing a speech for the Westerly monument across the river from Stonington. And when I started looking and checking the names of the monument in Stonington, which was the World War I monument, it suddenly dawned on me we don't have any monument at all from World War I on like Westerly, Rhode Island. So it was really Westerly that woke me up. The fact that Stonington really was 75 years behind. And that's when I decided to write a memorandum and get together with a reporter, and he published a story, and it's all history from there.